everybody. Welcome to the Minimalist Podcast, where we discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less. My name is Joshua Fields-Milburn.
And I'm Ryan Nicodemus, and together, we're the Minimalists.
We're here with Malabama.
Hi, everybody.
TK Coleman.
Hey.
We got the rest of our team here as well. And coming up today on this free public minimal episode, we're talking to a listener about her attachment to clothing. Then we've got our lightning round segment, a live stream question, and a listener tip for you. You can check out the full 2-hour maximal edition of episode 389, where we answer 5 times the questions and we dive deep into several simple living segments. That private podcast episode is out right now at patreon.com/theminimalists. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free because advertisements suck. Let's start with our callers. If you have a question or a comment for our show, make sure you give us a call, 406-219-7839, or email one of those beautiful voice recordings to podcast@theminimalists.com. Our first question today is from Jessica.
Hi, my name's Jessica. I am from northern Vermont. I live in New England, which lends itself to needing a little bit more clothing like snow pants, hats, gloves, etc. I also work in home health, so I wear scrubs and t-shirts and sweatshirts. So my problem is I still feel like I have a lot of clothes, and I actually wear about 80% of them. I read a lot about going through clothes that aren't in your hamper, but most of my clothes regularly are. I don't necessarily have an attachment to clothes, as fashion's never really been my calling. This causes me to really like to wear things that are kind of worn out, and it feels more worn into me. I just enjoy being comfortable. What I don't enjoy is kind of the mountain of laundry I have to do almost every week and a full feeling closet. I recall, I think at one point, Josh saying something along the lines of, you may wear all your jackets, but does that mean you really need 6 of them? Sometimes I feel like, yes, all of my jackets, serve a purpose. Like I have one for work, I have one for skiing, I have one for fall, I have one for spring. And then I kind of feel overwhelmed by having all of these items. Any advice for somebody who ends up actually wearing most of their clothing, but also sort of feels overwhelmed by the amount, but has a hard time letting go because every piece serves some type of utility?
Let's talk about your attachment to clothing. If it's overwhelming, it's clutter. Because let's face it, your attachment to physical things is not just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's psychological. If they're getting in the way, not just in your closet, but they're getting in the way of your mind, then it's clutter. And Jessica, I totally relate with this because after I started simplifying my life, the first place I started was my closet. I often think it's one of the easier places for folks to get started because, Ryan, you've mentioned this before. The average person throws away a certain number of pounds of clothing every year.
Oh, yeah. 81 pounds of clothing every year, even though 95% of it could be reused or recycled. I mean, it's crazy. There was another study that was done where basically 6% of people admitted they said that they had worn every article of clothing at least once, that everything in their wardrobe. The 94% had almost $300 worth of clothing they had never worn. So most people, like Jessica here, have clothes in their closet that they don't wear. And I would say with Jessica, the overwhelm, because she talked about 80% of it always wearing, 20% never wearing it. Like maybe that's the 20% she wants to focus on. Maybe that would relieve some of that stress that she's feeling.
That's right. And what I've noticed, because she's right, I did say, yeah, if you have 6 jackets, just because you wear them, we have something called the duplicates rule. Yeah. Just because you wear them doesn't mean that's a great idea to hold on to them. They could still be getting in the way. Mm-hmm. However, I think there's a flip side to that as well. I own 2 pairs of jeans. I used to own 1 pair of jeans.
Oh my God, you're exposing yourself.
That was actually the problem. I got a hole in the crotch. And I'm like, I need to get these sewn or whatever. I should have a second pair of pants. So yes, you might have 6 and you wear all of them, and it makes sense to get rid of 3 of them or 4 of them or 5 of them or all of them. But also, maybe you need more than one of a thing. She mentioned that she wears scrubs all the time. I love having a uniform, and you can have some variety within a uniform as well. You can have a bunch of different color scrubs if you want to add some variety. But it's okay to have more than one thing. That doesn't mean you're attached to it. You're using these things because you find them to be useful. We say love people and use things. And Jessica, I think you may not have the same problem that you think that you have. I'm going to give you some boundaries here in a moment. But first, TK, I'd love to hear what you have to say for Jessica.
Well, this makes me think about the phenomenon of the golden handcuffs. Golden handcuffs aren't just about high-paying jobs that also happen to be really stressful. Golden handcuffs refers to anything that's actually valuable, but it makes you feel imprisoned. And so there are some things in life that have value, they have use, but they restrain us in ways that we really don't like. So I can't tell you what to do with your things, but I can give you a question to ask. The question to ask is not, are my things useful? But is my use of these things creating more freedom in my life or compromising the freedom that I really want to have?
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're doing there is you're helping someone set up a boundary, right? I've got some boundaries for you as well. Jessica, download our free minimalist rulebook. You can find it at theminimalists.com. It's right there at the top. You can just download it for free. In that rulebook, there are 16 rules for living with less. I want to cover 2 of those with you right now. And I've got some additional rules. Now, these aren't actually rules. We tricked you, because these are rules that are adjustable. They're boundaries. They're tools for your own life. Obviously, the first one, the seasonality rule. This works perfectly for clothing. Think about right now, it's springtime when we're recording and releasing this episode. And so, have I worn this item in the last 90 days? We also call it the 90-90 rule for this reason. And if you have worn it in the last 90 days, give yourself permission to hold on to it. If you haven't, though, here's the next question. Am I going to wear this in the next 90 days? And you've got to be honest with yourself, because you can say, oh, yes. Are you actually going to wear it? And that covers every season, right? Because yes, I wore my winter coat within the last 90 days. For sure, I'm going to hold on to that. Okay, I haven't worn these shorts in a while, but summer's right around the corner. Yes, I'm going to wear these shorts in the summer. And then I think she has some items, Ryan, that would fall under our personal favorite rule, the spontaneous combustion rule.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's, because it's the easiest one to use. You can just pick up anything, pick up this pen and be like, all right, this pen spontaneously combusted. How would I feel? Well, I've got other pens, so I probably wouldn't go out and purchase it right away, but I do use my pen. If it was my last pen, I would 100% go and replace it. So that's just a great little litmus test for all your stuff. So yeah, Jessica, you can pick up any item of clothing in your wardrobe and ask yourself, what would happen if this thing spontaneously combusted? What would I do?
And if you would feel a sense of relief, that is a sign to let it go.
Yeah.
A couple more rules that aren't in that minimalist rule book. We have one, it's called I hate that thing rule, but it started out as the I hate that shirt rule. I call it shopping in my own closet, because what will happen, especially back in the day when I had all of these different clothes, they were aspirational clothes. And I would have some shirts I really, really, really liked. I liked this shirt, but I never wore it because it was a little too nice to wear out in a regular day. Or, yeah, you know what? I thought it looked great on the mannequin, or I thought it looked good in the store under those particular lights. When I got it home and tried it on, I didn't even know I had love handles until I put this shirt on or these jeans on. What am I doing? Every time I put it on, I kind of hate it. And that is a sign for me every time. As soon as I do this now, if I put something on one time and I'm like, oh, it's gone. It's out of my house and it's out of my life, because now it's overwhelming and it's getting in the way. Now it has turned into clutter. If I don't enjoy wearing that thing, then I give myself permission to let go.
Dude, the mannequins used to get me all the time because everything looks so form-fitting. And it took me a while to realize that they clip the clothes on the back so they make it look form-fitting.
That's what I do with my clothes. You should see,
I keep forgetting to buy the clips.
I have all these sandwich clips on my back right now. That's why I look so amazing.
Oh man, that's awesome.
TK, we were talking the other day about the didn't know rule. And this is another rule I think really helps people with their clothing. If you walk into your closet and you pull out something, you're like, I didn't know I still had this.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that. Right? I mean, imagine if that was a friend, right? I didn't know that person. You know what I mean? Like, how would you feel about a friend who forgot about you? You know what I mean? Hey, one quick thing about aspirational clothes. Aspirational clothes are very valuable, man, if they fuel the fire of the more fundamental aspiration, which is to do the work necessary to be able to fit into them. However, if they're not contributing to that, they possibly can get in the way. Sometimes it's the opposite that can help you fulfill that fundamental aspiration that the clothes represent. You put on that shirt that fits in a way that reminds you of what your body actually is, then you're dealing with truth. You're dealing with reality, and that might motivate you to change it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think about Ryan, whenever we have done tours in the past, people would come out. The best dressed people have the simplest wardrobes. I think about our friend Courtney Carver. She has something called Project 333, and I think this helps a lot of people out. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, by the way. And there's a book called Project 333, so I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And here's basically how it works. TK, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but you do a packing party for your clothes. So remember Ryan did his packing party in our last Netflix film and boxed up everything as if he were moving. Well, you kind of just do that with your clothes. You box up everything except for your 33 favorite pieces of clothes. And this applies to shirts, jeans, underwear, accessories, shoes. 33 items is all you get and for 3 months. So you're not getting rid of the other clothes. You're just boxing them up, making them inaccessible for 3 months. You have 33 pieces of clothing you wear for 3 months. And so inevitably what happens? You always pick your favorite clothes and everything else that is sort of quirky or weird or I kind of like that or I'm not sure or it's not that versatile. We put that in a box. And after those 3 months, you realize like, oh, I'm dressed really stylishly every day and I'm wearing the clothes I enjoy. So now as a minimalist, all of my clothes are my favorite clothes because all the other things that weren't my favorite are in those boxes. And quite often what happens at our events, Ryan, is someone will show up and they'll mention Project 333 and they're always the best dressed person at the event.
Absolutely. Like you have to pick your favorite clothes. You have absolutely no choice. I think it's funny that there's something like in high school where in grade school, like I remember wearing something 2 days in a row and I was just like ridiculed all day long by those little twerps. and so that stuck with me. Yes. And I remember like in high school, I literally had 10 days worth of clothes and like I would never, I like had it hanging in order of when I was going to wear them. I could wear, I had 3 pairs of jeans. I could like alternate those. That seemed to not like spark any outrage in the high school community. But this carried with me past high school. And what I've realized is adults don't care if you wear the same outfit.
Yes.
What really sparked that was when we first started down this road of minimalism. It was, I think it was Nina Yao. Yeah, she was wearing the same dress for however many days in a row.
She did for one full year.
And no one said a word to her.
Yeah, and it was a red sweater.
Yeah, red sweater, yeah. And no one said anything to her. So yeah, it wasn't even something that was, inconspicuous like black and denim or whatever. Like, yeah, I think the same thing kind of happened to Courtney Carver when she was doing that. Like when she first did her challenge, she went to work and no one was like, you seem to be wearing a lot of the same stuff. If anything, they're like, man, you've been looking really good lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. A quick lesson on style. Style isn't as much about how much you own as much as it's about how much you own it. When you look at these celebrities, you please don't try to convince me that everything they wear is cute and cool. It's the way they own it that makes everybody want to wear it, which is why you got to be careful when you say, let me get that shirt. And then you look at yourself in it. You're like, it was that dude who looked so good in it. It's not the shirt.
Yeah. Jessica, enjoy the Minimalist Rulebook. You can download it for free at theminimalists.com. Ryan, what time is it?
You know what time it is. It's time for the lightning round where we answer your questions from TikTok.
Yes, indeed. You can follow The Minimalists on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Minimalists. Now, during the lightning round, this is where we each have 60 seconds to answer your question with a short, shareable, less than 140 character response. And we put the text to these minimal maxims in the show notes so you can copy and share our pithy answers on social media if you like. You can find those show notes at theminimalists.com/podcast. Today's question is from Van Fleena.
Ever since I was a teen, I've had a strong preference for wearing only black clothing. My boyfriend recently bought me a red dress, but I have a hard time wearing it. Do I need to overcome my preferences to live in peace?
Ryan Nicodemus, do you have 60 seconds of wisdom for Van Fleena?
I sure do. My pithy answer is this. The house of your life cannot stand on a foundation of compromised values. Now, the thing is with this red dress that this girl does not want to wear, that her boyfriend really likes her being in, that's the question she needs to ask herself. Is she compromising her values? Because I'll tell you, if Mariah got me a blue shirt and was like, hey, will you wear this? I really like this on you. And I put it on and I didn't like it. I would be like, honey, I really appreciate that you got me this, but this doesn't feel right on me. I don't feel like myself in this. And if she was like, just try it out. Even for Mariah, I probably would try it. I'd try it for a week. And if I got compliments on it and changed my perspective, then maybe I would continue to wear it. That's how much I love Mariah. But for as much as I love her and as much as I would extend wearing that blue shirt as long as I could, there might be a certain point where I'm like, it just ain't working for me. I'm sorry. I love you. I gave it a chance. And if she takes that approach with her significant other, then he's probably gonna understand.
I would take it even a step further. If Mariah gave you the red dress, can you imagine? And maybe you love Mariah so much, but at some point you would say, hey, it's unreasonable to ask this of me, right? And it'd be easier for you to say, this is unreasonable with the red dress, right? A little bit different. The blue shirt's not that different from what you're doing right now. But to her, it does seem like the red dress is so appreciably different from her black clothes. It's unreasonable for him to ask her to wear it. TK, do you have 60 seconds of wisdom for us?
If you must be in conflict with others, at least be in harmony with yourself. There will always be people that have a problem with the way you want to do life. What's most important is that you enjoy the person that you decide to be. Your preferences aren't there to be overcome as if there's some kind of obstacle in your way. Your preferences are there to be healthfully expressed. And if someone is saying to you, you don't love me, or you're not a good friend unless you abandon the healthful expression of your preferences, I'm tempted to say, let that friend go, but I would at least give them an opportunity to understand what real love and friendship is by saying, hey, that doesn't fit right on me. That doesn't feel right on me. I love the hell out of you, and I would appreciate it if you get that opinion of yours the hell out of my life so we can get on with having a good time together.
Yeah.
Yes. And he did it under a minute, ladies and gentlemen.
For the first time in minimalist history.
I think it's the first time I ever went over.
It was well
I didn't even
worth it,
say
though.
my maximum. Like my maximum, I was working my way up to it, but I heard the ding and I had to stop.
So I love what you had to say about preferences. So give me 60 seconds and I'll wax philosophical on it. Clinging to preferences is a great way to get dragged away from peace. You're not wrong for having preferences. And in fact, we all have preferences, right? But the more preferences we bring out and then we cling to, meaning we're unwilling to change our preferences when they don't really matter to us at all. I have this strong preference. I need to expose it to the world.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that meme I was showing Professor Sean this morning, or I was showing Danny as well. And it's this guy looking in the mirror and says, now get in there and make this about you. That's
great.
That's what we're doing all the time. We're making it about me, me, me. However, here's what I'll say. If he is forcing you to wear this dress, manipulating you to wear this dress, then you don't need that kind of person in your life who wants to change your preferences for you. I think as Dan Savage would say, he would say DTMFA. I'll let you all Google that. DTMFA, if he is pressuring you. And I saw this with my wife's wardrobe. When she and I first met, I saw a picture of her the other day from back in 2015. Like when we first met, it was her and Ella was like 1 year old, or maybe Ella was 2 at the time. And Bex looked like she was dressed like the Hamburglar. She was wearing like this striped skirt. She was wearing these things that she would never wear today. And it didn't look crazy. It just didn't look stylish at all. Bex has become so stylish over the last 8 years or whatever it's been since I've known her. But I never once said, you should wear this. Now, I will tell her, I like the way this looks, or that looks really great. She was wearing this outfit yesterday. I was like, oh my God, you look amazing in that. But it wasn't like, hey, you look great in this. You need to wear this. There's a distinct difference in our disposition, in the way we feel, because she felt compelled, like pulled in the direction of being more stylish instead of being pushed in the direction of being more stylish. And now she's one of the most stylish people I know without ever being forced or convinced that she should be more stylish.
Yeah. Hey, I want to say one last thing about this phrasing here. Overcome my preferences to live in peace. Right? Because you don't ask yourself, how can I overcome my preferences when everyone's leaving you alone? You only even ask that question when you're thinking about, must I overcome my preferences to live in peace? And what I want to say is, I don't think any of us need to overcome our preferences to live in peace. We need to overcome our fears towards having the difficult discussions that lead to peace. Peace is not this passive default state that's defined by the mere absence of contention, disagreement, and conflict. Peace is the product of what we create by being willing to take life's difficulties head on. When we face the contrast and we say, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to tell you how I really feel, I'm going to say no to you, even if that means we might have a challenging conversation that follows. That's how you get to peace. It's on the other side of that.
Yes. Yes. That's
Man,
beautiful.
What a great observation. It makes me think like preferences are kind of values in a way, really. Because I don't really value aesthetics. Like it's not something that is a huge deal to me, but it is a huge deal to me for the clothes that I wear. And even though that is a preference, like, yeah, that is, I agree with you. It might be very unreasonable, especially if it's causing, if it's disrupting the peace in the house. Like it is kind of unreasonable for her partner to keep coming at her, asking her to wear a red dress that she's vehemently against wearing.
We have a free values worksheet over at theminimalists.com/V. You can download that. And in that worksheet, it helps you identify the 4 types of values. And I agree with you, Ryan. I think the surface level values, which are the third layer of values, they're sort of our preferences. And our preferences change over time. And so that portion of our values often changes as well. Because the things that were your preference when you were 3 years old might be appreciably different at 43 years old.
I don't know. I still wear Transformer underwear.
Hey, I don't think her boyfriend's going to be mad, though. It's just speculation. No. I think if she say, baby, I appreciate the dress, baby, but I just can't wear this. This is just not me.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be cool.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And if he's trying to coerce you into wearing the dress all the time, then that says something about the dynamic of the relationship. Yeah. And it's always okay to let go of someone who is trying to coerce you, because coercion is not consent, but also convincing, persuading, manipulating. Those things aren't consent either. That's unloving. I want to check in with our Patreon live stream here in a moment. But first, real quick, for right here, right now, here's 1 or 2 things going on in the life of the Minimalists. Last weekend, we had a team building event. We all went out and shot each other.
It was so much fun. I still got bruises. Just, well, this one right here. Do you got any bruises?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I can't show you where they are, though. We'd have to upload this to Rumble or something.
Yeah. So what did you think, to get your first time paintballing? How'd you like it?
Well, I can't confirm my personal participation in it. But, you know, one of my observations is that Danny Unleashed, you know, he's an interesting paintball player. That's all I'll say. You know, there were certain players sometimes who was calling for paint checks, and Danny just shot him anyway. So no.
I'll tell you,
I'm not bitter about it at all.
The rules are weird. The rules are weird.
The biggest lesson I learned from the whole team outing is do not get into a shootout with Alabama.
Oh my goodness. I don't know why. I knew it from the very beginning. Man. Like she had game face from the very first time she put on like her little mask before she like put it over. She's like ready to go. Her and David make an amazing team. And I'm so glad that David has Alabama to protect him if anything ever goes down.
She's a silent killer, man.
Oh, she's an assassin. Yes.
And I heard everybody say, I thought she was out. Like everybody who got shot by Bama said their last words was, I thought she was out.
And now I'm out.
Yeah, she's just the silent killer.
I didn't tell you this when we were playing, but the whole time when I was hiding, like I literally was like, I have to assume Mallory is right around one of these corners. And like, that's how I played the entire game. Like, okay, she's right there. I know she is. So I was playing paranoid the whole time.
Well, we did, when we started, we did 3 on everyone. So it was like 3 on 9 or 3 on 10, whatever the number was. It was just me, Ryan, TK versus everyone. But I set up one rule. I said it's racist to shoot TK. So we just won every time. It was super, super helpful. I'll tell you, Mallory's husband, he was like sliding into obstacles.
It was amazing.
Unbelievable. And everyone did an awesome job. Jordan was out there pretending he didn't get shot. I lit Danny up a bunch and he was also like, oh, none of it hit me. It all bounced off. It's fine.
Dude,
Shout out to Beulah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beulah came
Beulah
out.
was the MVP.
Yeah.
I was
Beulah
hoping
great.
her 6'7" husband would show up so I'd have a big target that I could hit. But he was at home watching Jeezy, their son. And man, what a beautiful time. The weather was perfect. Great time. Thank you all for being a part of it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
One other thing, Ryan and I just got back from Georgia. We were at Georgia Southern University in the mega metropolis of Statesboro, Georgia, which is a quick 4-hour drive from Atlanta.
Right.
Not a problem.
It's not in the middle of nowhere.
We actually had to wade through a swamp to get there. They were awesome. Shout out to all the folks over at Georgia Southern University. We got to speak there. They actually opened it up to the public as well. I've never been recognized more than in, I think, Statesboro, Georgia. People were like running out of the Starbucks and saying, the Minimalists, what are you doing in town? And they're like, so I know you were speaking here. Are you doing any more shows while you're in Statesboro? I'm like, yeah, we're here for an entire month. We're doing a full residency. We'd actually love to come to your school. If you want to hire the Minimalists to speak at your school, your college, your organization, you can find all of the details as well as a speaking reel, a demo of us speaking over at theminimalists.com/speaking. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. And we're going to check in with the Patreon live stream, Alabama. What kind of questions you got for us? Give us a good one.
We have a question here from Joan. I noticed that as I release more things that no longer serve me or my husband, there seems to always be more. I'm not sure when I'll ever feel done. Do you have any guidance on this?
Ryan, I love you were talking about this earlier because Catherine Morgan Schaffler was on the show and she talked about the root of the word perfect is perfacere, which means per, and facere, completely done, is essentially what perfect means. And so, will you ever be perfect? And the answer is you were born perfect already. All of the things that you've heaped onto your life to add value, they may have added value, but at some point they may imperfect your life. I think it's most noticeable in our clothing because trends happen and things go out of style and you're like, oh, these oversized silver tab jeans, what am I still wearing these? Or Ryan's Janko jeans from our high school days.
My dad would never allow me to buy Janko jeans.
And in the moment, they might have been perfect for that moment, but if something's perfect for the moment, it doesn't mean that it's perfect for right now. And so clinging to it imperfects you in a way. Now, will you ever be completely done? No, I wish you would. I wish you could get down to the 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 14,000 items you could own to have a complete life. But if something ceases to add value, then you're still going to have to let it go. Otherwise, it will turn into clutter tomorrow.
Yeah. And this expectation that there's a destination, you're clinging to that expectation. You can let that expectation go and be happy where you're at and enjoy the ride.
Woo! No limits to clinging.
No.
We'll check back in with the Patreon live stream here in a moment. But first, Alabama, what else you got for us?
Here's a minimalist insight from one of our listeners.
Hello, Josh and Ryan. My name is Vandy Bender. I am calling from Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm calling today because I have a great solution for what to do with an old wedding dress, especially if it's kind of outdated and not likely to be worn again. The hospitals in my area have a wonderful program. They have volunteers who take old wedding dresses and make burial gowns for infants. I think this is a great way to honor these children, and I know it is something the families mourning the loss of a child will find value in.
All right, y'all, that's our minimal episode for today. We'll see you on Patreon for the full 2-hour maximal edition of episode 389, which includes answers to a bunch more questions like, what can I do if I regret letting something go? How can I be a minimalist and have a hobby that involves crafting? How can minimalism help me create work-life balance while still working from home? Plus, we got a million more questions for the minimalists. Also this week, a private minimalist home tour. It is the most minimalist and the cleanest kitchen I have ever seen from one of our beautiful listeners. All that and much, much more of less. And if you want to hear all that, check out the Minimalist private podcast at patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description to subscribe and get your personal link so that our weekly maximal episodes play in your favorite podcast app. You'll also gain access to all of our podcast archives all the way back to episode 001. And if you're still on the fence, here's a testimonial from one of our lovely Patreon supporters. Paulette says, I love that you guys take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. That perspective has changed my outlook on everyday life. That's why I love listening to your private podcast every week. Thank you so much, Paulette. If you leave here today with just one message, please let it be this. Love people and use things, because the opposite never works. Thanks for listening, y'all.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Every little thing you think that you need, every little thing you think that you need, every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it.